everyone. This is Liz Easton, and I wanted to take a quick second to invite you to listen in to the PC Book Club. Wait, I need to start again. Hi, everyone. This is Liz Easton, and I wanted to take a quick second to invite you to listen to the PC Book Club, aka PCBC. Every so often, Ricardo Avila and I chat about the books that you should be reading right now. It's just like sitting on your own private book club discussion, only there's probably slightly more references to true crime and Charles Dickens. I did not write this.
We may have to re-record that anyway, because I think you just said it's just like sitting on your own private book club.
She did. That was great. Sitting on a book club. Sitting on a private book club. That's pretty racy. Sorry.
Should I try again? It's just like sitting in on your own private book club discussion, only there's probably slightly more references to true crime and Charles Dickens. So if you're looking for the class with an occasional dose of the sass, then check out the PC Book Club right here on the Popping Collars feed. Class and sass.
Love it.
I was praying to the Lord for some fun.
Take these shoes, click clacking down some dead end street. Take these shoes and make them fit. Take this shirt,
Welcome to the new and improved, maybe, we'll see how this goes, PC Music Diary, a Popping Collars side project where we dig into an artist, album, genre, or theme from popular music. And who is we? Well, it's me, Greg Knight, your host, and special guest joining me on PC Music Diary, the guy whose dream the PC Music Diary was in the first place, Ricardo Avila. Ricardo.
Oh, Greg, thank you. That's high praise. Considering I've only done one music diary in a year. Yes.
I still think of this as your baby, even though I feel like I may have taken it over and talked way too much about music.
Oh, you're great. You've done 4, right?
I don't even remember at this point. I do this thing where sometimes I have a song stuck in my head when I wake up in the morning, and then I'll just like write about it.
Good for you.
As a diary, like, and then I'll just turn those writings into PC Music Diary episodes.
You really took this seriously. That's great.
I mean, you know, it's this is a burgeoning enterprise that you and I are involved in here. Like, we're making all this pod money is rolling in. Like,
all right. Indeed. Well, you know, let me do the introduction thing because I think we want to do that here, eh? Sure. I'm Ricardo Avila. Thanks, Greg. I am the rector of St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Los Gatos, California. And do we have to do like a little snippet of like, oh, and this is what's happening in my life?
Oh, I wouldn't say so. No, because we will have already done that in our big Popping Collars episode that comes out at the first of the month. So.
Wait, isn't this the big Popping Collars episode that comes out at the first of the month?
Oh, no. Did I not tell you? I have a different one. This will be week 2 from.
Okay, well then I don't have to worry too much. This is just like a little piddly thing, huh?
You don't have to work as hard.
Wait, I got supplanted from last week to this week. I was like,
yeah, I came up with a concept. I came up with a concept that I really liked, and so I went with it.
Okay, I can't wait to hear about it and hear what concept is better than this.
You will be, I'm sure, flabbergasted when you listen to it. It'll be great.
All right. Okay. All right. Fair enough. So yeah, that's me, Ricardo Avila, and I love music. And say about you, Greg.
Oh, my name's Greg. I work at the Church of Bethesda by the Sea in Palm Beach, Florida, and I also love music. Maybe not as much as you do, because my musical taste tends to skew pretty popular. And your musical taste, I find, is like very obscure and beautiful. And I'm always jealous of the songs that you pick for things. I'm like, I wish I knew music the way that Ricardo does, because he's able to find like these hidden gems all over the place.
Can I tell you how much I love hearing that? That's so great. I'm not even going to pretend I didn't love that. You know, so yes, Greg, but here's the thing. It comes naturally, maybe not initially, but I only realize in hindsight, I've been listening to music all my life. I'm the youngest of five, and my oldest sister, I think both my sisters really listen to music, but my oldest one, so I know all the 70s stuff from them. And then I had my own record player, and it's just always been something that I gravitate towards. And so I guess that does mean it is a kind of a love that is innate. I think I mentioned last week that if I'm in a cafe and I hear a song, I need to find, and I like it, I really need to find out what it is, and I'll try to sound hound it or something. And then I look it up, and it's because music's great. So I'm glad you think I have this obscure and beautiful, great words, taste in music. It's really just when you love something, you want to know all about it. And I don't have as much. I mean, there are tons of people who know way more than I do, but I think I know just enough to be happy.
Just speaking for me, whenever I hear you talk about things, because I'm always a best of, guy. So like I'm the guy that has the CD collection that's full of like the best of Janis Joplin, the best of Rod Stewart, the best of the Eagles, the best of Prince, like that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because usually it's like if you get those best of volumes, they're like the music that you were hearing on the radio all the time. And when I think of music, like I think of like listening to FM radio, recording FM radio on mixtapes, and then like listening back to it with the ad breaks and all of that stuff. Recording top 40 countdowns from Sunday mornings. So I always think of like music in terms of radio. And so finding stuff that's left of the dial or a B-side or sort of, buried music that's kind of off the beaten path. I've just always been jealous of people that can find like those beautiful ones, because I tend to seem to navigate back into like, the big wide lane where everybody else is. So I wish I had curated musical taste, but.
Well, I'll tell you, we should probably like get started with this, but I'll just say in response to that, first of all, I think those greatest hits are great because it's an entree into liking an artist. And then what you might do is say, oh God, what album is that off of? Mm-hmm. And you'll listen to that album. And I think it is in the nature of hits that are playing on the radio that they want to be the ones that appeal to the most people. And that is at least half the time not the best song on the album.
Right.
So there's a song that's more lyrically intricate or a little more emotional or a little quieter or a little kind of less popular sounding that really touches you or grabs you. And so my curating is not, it's based on kind of emotion, frankly, and instinct. Remain in Light by the Talking Heads, right? Their hit from there is, I'm going to get this wrong. I think it's Same As It Ever Was, right? Letting it go by.
Yeah.
I can't even think of the name of the song, but that's not the best song on that album, in my opinion. There are like 4 songs I love better than that. And when I listen to that CD, not that I haven't ages, but I often kind of skip the hit. So, and then you think an artist has really got breadth, and then you want to hear more about them and check out their other albums. So anyway, that's a long answer to a question that was not asked.
Once in a lifetime, right? That
Once in a lifetime.
I was like rolling through the lyrics in my head, and I was like, is that the name of the song, Once in a Lifetime?
Hey Siri, what is the big hit from Remain in Light by the Talking Heads? Yeah, it's once in a lifetime.
Hey, we did it.
God. But
I just have
man,
to sing the song quickly in my head.
you're absolutely right. But man, there's some other great, I can't even think of the songs. Born Under Punches is great. And the heat goes on, and the heat goes on. Anyway, I'll stop. So,
Nice.
what are we doing?
Okay, so here's the deal. Since we're a religion and pop culture pod, Ricardo and I thought that there's probably nowhere better to begin this new sort of version of the PC Music Diary where we talk to each other about things that we like than to begin with secular songs that have religious themes, which is really like kind of every song that we talk about for the most part. I mean, I don't know, like we're sort of specifically calling this episode that theme, but probably every episode that you hear from now on is going to be us talking about secular songs that have religious themes to us. But we're not talking about specifically sort of Christian pop music. So not like Amy Grant or, oh my gosh, I had a bunch of these things. There was like an a cappella group that was like a big Christian band when I was in high school.
Yeah.
That like the Baptist kids would always listen to. I don't know. We're not talking about those things, right? Jars of Clay, not necessarily Jars of Clay.
Right.
We're talking about music that comes at religion sideways. So, you know, it could be anything from like a popular artist, but it touches on something that speaks to our soul. Is that how you would say it?
I would say it that way, Greg. In fact, I would say that Amy Grant kind of becomes the poster child, and I feel a little bad for her because there are a few Amy Grant songs I like, and I think when you say Amy Grant, for me, that's a kind of music.
El Shaddai, El Shaddai, El Elyon Adonai. Age to age, you're still the same by the power of the name. El Shaddai,
And I have to be careful because there are people who really love that music for real, you know?
Mhm.
And I tend to kind of do a little eye roll with Christian pop music because it just doesn't speak to me. It feels treacly or insincere. But I imagine for most of the singers and for the people who are real fans of it, it means the world. And who am I to, say, no, that's phony, shallow religious music. And so
Right.
I kind of have to watch that. Doesn't mean I want to listen to that music, but kind of respect that different people are touched by music in different ways.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, I mean, I don't mean for Amy Grant to be out here catching
Oh, I know.
praise from me. but there's something about the on the nose, like the on the noseness of like a Michael W. Smith or something like that, where it's like, kind of slow down, guy. Like, let's sing about life, a little bit, not necessarily have all the Jesus stuff front and center all the time,
Right. Well, Greg, I apologize because now I'm becoming very chatty, and just kind of stop me if you need to. But it's like hymns. I think some of my favorite hymns are the ones where there's doubt or pain or, struggle, as opposed to, I don't know, Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Now that might work for some people, but I like a little grit with my Jesus. I like, gosh, it's like verse 3 of Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love.
Right.
My heart go take and seal it. I lose track of God, and this song acknowledges that. And so when I sing that particular verse, I feel it more, and that's authentic to me. And I saved a wretch like me, as opposed to kind of a clappier song or something.
So what is I was going to say, like, what is your history with this idea of secular religious music? But I mean,
I haven't
Like I
answered
said,
that.
that's kind of like everything. That's kind of like asking you what's your history with music. But maybe like when is a time where you realized that you were listening to something that wasn't specifically religious, but it touched something inside of your sort of religious imagination?
So, yes, maybe all my life, but very specifically, in fact, I wrote a blog post on it on my blog that I think has 5 entries over the last 15 years. There was an album by Emmylou Harris called Wrecking Ball.
Oh,
And it came out in the year that you will look up. Hey Siri, when did Wrecking Ball by Emmylou Harris come out? In 2013.
oh, wait. So,
Oh,
so like Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball.
no, that's Miley Cyrus. I said Emmylou Harris. Siri, what is?
I was like, what are the odds that Emmylou Harris and Miley Cyrus put out the same song?
I came in like a wrecking ball. I never
Emmylou Harris covered Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball. Hey Siri, could you please answer correctly? When did the album by Emmylou Harris named Wrecking Ball come out?
Oh, man.
1995.
Okay, that's a little bit better.
Sorry, Miley. So Wrecking Ball came out, and it was Emmylou Harris doing cover songs of other people's music, and one of them was Orphan Girl by Gillian Welch.
Mm-hmm.
I say Jillian for this podcast.
I think it's Gillian.
All right, we'll do Gillian. Let's start that over. You can keep the Miley Cyrus stuff in if you like, but
I have no mother, no father, no sister, no brother. I am an orphan girl. I have
so Greg, I actually can pinpoint a moment when secularish religious music really kind of changed my life a little bit, frankly. And it was the Emmylou Harris album Wrecking Ball, which came out in 1995. And it's a bunch of cover songs she does of other people's music. And the opening song is called Orphan Girl by Gillian Welch. Never heard of Gillian Welch. And I love that song. And it's not about like Jesus loves me and clappy clap. It's like, I'm an orphan on God's highway, but I'll share my troubles if you go my way. I have no mother, no father, no sister, no brother. I am an orphan girl. And the song is basically, take care of me, God, until I'm reunited with my family in heaven, because now I'm an orphan. And it's moving, it's authentic. I don't think Gillian was an orphan, but there's an authenticity to that song. So I listened to that and I thought, well, who's Gillian Welch? And then I look her up and then I start listening to her debut album and I love it. And then I start listening to Lucinda Williams somewhere in there because she covers Sweet Old World by Lucinda Williams. And there's Lucinda Williams and she's a poet. And then Car Wheels on a Gravel Road and the song, there's a song on there that I love. And this is one of those not a hit songs. Lake Charles. It's called Lake Charles.
He had a reason to get back to Lake Charles.
And it's about a friendship and the guy dies. He's misunderstood somehow. And the refrain goes, she sings, did an angel whisper in your ear and hold you close and take away your fears in those long last moments? Like, that's real.
Yeah.
It's also religious, It's
Yeah.
I don't even know what it's about, but I'm assuming it's someone she loved who was a great friend who died. And she talks about the fun times they had. But then she comes to that moment, did God meet you in your moment of dying and hold you and take away your fear? That to me speaks authenticity. And so all of those, Emmylou Harris, Lucinda Williams, Gillian Welch, they all informed my faith at that time. I wasn't super religious. And from there, I think is a direct line to kind of going to seminary and becoming a priest, because I did not find an authentic sense of faith often in the usual channels, via the usual channels. But this music, because it was out of left field, it had more integrity, it feels like, or authenticity, because they were speaking from a lived experience, as opposed to love Jesus and you will be just fine. Be good and God will bless you. It's like, I've suffered, I've struggled, and God is with me, and I will hold him close like, there's no tomorrow kind of thing.
Wow.
So if that makes sense, that's kind of how this kind of music we're talking about has informed me. And it's frankly, to me, I'm not as interested in some of that other stuff, because this just speaks to me more strongly and powerfully.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I was thinking, like, for me, because I grew up in a sort of a conservative Christian sort of background, right? So, or kind of evangelical Christian. I mean, like, I grew up in like a non-denominational Christian church when I was like, I started going to church at age 10 when I was living with my grandmother. And so for me, I never thought of music, like music that you heard on the radio is very different from like music that you would hear in church. So I never thought of like music on the radio as being something holy, really. Like it never occurred to me. Even something like, and Betsy's not here, so I have to bring them up, but even something like U2, like I would have never listened to their lyrics and thought that they were about Jesus or the Holy Spirit. Like I would have thought that they were about love or, a romantic partnership or something like that. Like those two worlds wouldn't have crossed over, right? So when I think of religious music, like growing up, I tended to think, okay, so there's like a genre for that, and everything else has nothing to do with religion, which is wild to think back on. The time where I was challenged with that, there were two records that I can think of that challenged me on that. And neither of them are particularly religious, I think. But for me, they felt religious. One was the album Purple by Stone Temple Pilots, which was the second Stone Temple Pilots album. And there's nothing particularly amazing about the album Purple. It has the hit songs that were on that record were like Interstate Love Song, Vaseline, which is kind of a depressing song thinking about it. Actually, there is a really pretty song on that album called Pretty Penny, which I sing to my youngest daughter every now and then, whose name is Penelope. I'll sing her Pretty Penny by Stone Temple Pilots.
Gone when you wake in the morning, gone when you find that there's no one sleeping, gone. Pretty Penny was her name. She was loved and we all will miss her.
But the reason that I think of it whenever I think of this idea of where does the secular cross over with religious is because I was in somebody's youth group at the time. This wasn't the youth group that I went to. This was like a friend of mine's church. I went with them to like whatever their youth group meeting was. And they were, the youth leader was talking about some kind of magazine article that listed like albums that you should never listen to ever because they were of the devil and you were going to go to hell if you listened to them. And one of them was Purple by Stone Temple Pilots. And I had just bought that album like earlier that week. And I was like, but I love that album. And I remember thinking like when here was like a Christian leader that was like, okay, well, you can't listen to this music because this music is horrendous and will damage your soul somehow. And I just remembered thinking like, no, it won't. And it's not. I love this. I love this album. I love this music. I love these songs. Like, no. And I found myself sort of starting to feel like this defensiveness of not just Stone Temple Pilots as a band, but of what it is that they were singing about and what it is that they were saying, and there was truth in it, just like there was truth in, you know, the Christian rock that supposedly was good to listen to. So I always think of Stone Temple Pilots' Purple whenever this kind of conversation comes up. The other one is around the same time, there was a album that came out called Throwing Copper by a band called Live. And there was a song on that album called I Alone.
I sank into Eden with you, alone in the church by and by.
Which was kind of a big hit on MTV. I think it was like the biggest video. Well, they probably had... No, there was probably a different song on there that was the biggest hit. But I Alone was just one of these... it was one of these songs that, again, doesn't have specifically religious lyrics, but it had lyrics that echoed things that were in my life. Like it talks about, there's a lyric in there of, I sank into Eden with you. And, you know, that reference, like that lyric, like it's referencing Eden from the Bible, but I grew up in a town named Eden, North Carolina. That's where I went to high school. And so it had this like dual ramification for me where it was real, something tangible in my life that I could see, the town that I was going to high school in, and it had echoes of like a biblical story and this sort of longing to reconnect on this very deeper basic human level, right? I sank into Eden with you. I just love that. I love that all of those things kind of came together. They just wove themselves together into this lyric in this song. And that was probably the first time where I was like, oh, music can be real. Music can be metaphor, music can be spirit. It can all be the same thing. It doesn't have to be divided up into all of these different parts the way that I was told by these adults that it did have to be. Right. And so I think of Purple from Stone Temple Pilots because I had to defend my hedonism at a youth group meeting. And I think of I Alone by Live when I think of weaving these things.
Wow. So I have three things to say. One is about your religious sensibility. The other one is a correction about what I said about Emmylou Harris's album.
Okay.
And the third, I, as usual, have forgotten.
Okay.
But maybe I'll remember it as we talk. So just briefly, and again, this is such a meandering conversation, Greg. I don't know. You edit out.
No, I think this is what the show actually needs to be.
Okay. All right. Your religious sensibility. So I don't think there are many people in the world who would say that Stone Temple Pilots and Live, I don't know them very well, are, spark their religious kind of sensibilities.
Right.
But the fact that there was just whatever sort of crossroads of occurrences, in your, going to that youth group and being told that's bad stuff. Right. Oh, the third thing is about Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd.
Okay.
So, but whoever you were and whatever sort of religious kind of inclinations or like budding yearnings were happening in your spirit, and then going to that youth group and then just liking a certain kind of music. I mean, it's this strange alchemical mix that you never know. Never know what's going to spark your sense of faith or sense of God.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's great that those are your entrees into this kind of thing. So great. The correction about the Emmylou Harris CD, I thought Orphan Girl was the first track on there. It's actually the first track on Gillian Welch's debut. It's on Emmylou Harris's, her cover of Orphan Girl is later in there. The first track on Wrecking Ball by Emmylou Harris is called Where Will I Be? And she does a couple of songs on there with Daniel Lanois. I think that's how you say his name. A big producer of people like U2, for example. But Where Will I Be? The big phrase is, where, oh, where will I be when that trumpet sounds? The day of judgment. So Orphan Girl, not first. And then I don't know if you want to hear this story, but the story you told about going to the group, the religious group, and being told these are evil albums, never listened to them. I was in a youth group. I've told this story on this podcast. I must have.
Really? I don't remember it.
So I'm a little boy in Milwaukee. I don't know, 10 years old, 11, 12. Well, actually, I was probably 14. It was the same thing. They were trying to tell us, to stay away from harmful music. And so they handed out the lyrics to Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd, and they played the song. I think I was the only one who knew it. Not that I was that cool, but I don't know. So I had just, with my friend, we had snuck in to see The Wall, right? Mm-hmm. With Bob Geldof and, the Pink Floyd movie, The Wall. And the scene where this song is played is particularly interesting. He's kind of having a nervous breakdown, throwing TVs out hotel room windows and kind of going crazy. Right. But the song's supposed to, no, wait. Comfortably Numb. Actually, I don't remember what the scene is. I better just be quiet. The Comfortably Numb is basically about being drugged up, right? Hello.
Is there anybody in there? Just nod if you can hear me. Yeah,
exactly. And then they kind of drug him up so he can go on stage and perform, right? Mm-hmm. But to these youth group leaders, it was about taking drugs, and they don't want you to take drugs. And so they're like, so they play the song. We're looking at the lyrics and like, well, what do you think? What do you think? No one's talking, of course. And well, what do you think it's about? No one's talking. So I'm just all excited because I'd snuck in to see the movie. So finally I just raised my hand and I say, oh my God, this was in the movie we just saw. I saw The Wall, and there's a scene where they play the song Comfortably Numb and he's going good, but they have to drug him up to be on the show. And it was so kind of exciting. And I just couldn't help it. I was so, because you don't expect a song you love to show up in the church youth group, right?
Right.
Because they're boring and staid and, nice people, but so I was just too excited. That is not the answer they wanted. They're like, okay, thank you. It's about drug use. I don't know. I think they were trying to speak with authenticity and integrity, but there's context too. You can't just hear a song and be like, that's about drug use. That's a bad song. I actually think it's a pretty good song that's anti-drug. I can't feel anything. There is no pain. A distant ship smoke on the horizon, everything's receding. I've become comfortably numb. I have checked out of life,
Right.
Might be attractive in some situations, but I think it's not meant to be.
Right.
Okay, that's it. I'm done.
And spirit can find you wherever you are. Like this idea, and that's kind of the conceit of this podcast, obviously, right? But I just find that music is probably one of the more tangible ways that we can feel it in our lives, because music is something that you feel. Like, it's not necessarily something that you analyze and think too much about. It's something that it moves you. I often think about how different media work, like a movie, a really good movie, maybe I'll watch it twice, but mostly I don't necessarily have to see a movie more than once, And there are some movies that I definitely don't want to see more than once. But if I see, I don't know, 8.5 or something once in my life, that's probably about as many times as I need to see it. Maybe twice. I don't need to watch it over and over again. The same thing with reading a book. I get that you can read a book over and over again. And I know a lot of people that do read a book once a year or something like that. But generally for me, once I know the story, I'm okay. I don't necessarily need to read it again. But music is one of these things. It's a medium that not only do we listen to these things, we listen to them over and over and over and over again. And they're still the same song, and they're still the same rhythm, and they're still the same instruments, and they're still the same lyrics. And yet somehow they have this magical ability to hit us differently and make us feel different things in different moments. And I think that that's really powerful. One of the songs that I think of when I think about this concept all the time is Under the Bridge by Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I don't ever wanna feel like I did that day. Take me to the place I love. Take me all the way. I don't ever want.
I had this conscious thought. This sounds morbid, and I promise it is not a morbid thought. But I had this thought one time when I was like, I don't even know how old I was, maybe 13 or something, when Blood Sugar Sex Magik came out. But I remember listening to that album and thinking to myself, and like Under the Bridge was all over the place. It was on like every rock station that I listened to, once per hour, you could guarantee that Under the Bridge was going to come on. And I remembered having the stray thought of, I wonder how many times I'm going to hear this song in my life. That was one thought. And then the second thought I had was, I wonder what will be the last time that I ever hear this song. Like, what will be the last time that I'll hear Under the Bridge? And whatever it is, I'll never know that was the last time. Right? Like, I could listen to it right now and maybe that's the last time, but maybe like it's 50 times from now that's the last time. But I wonder, like, when's the last time I'm going to hear Under the Bridge? And I think that, like, that's a powerful ability that music has to sort of make us feel things, because what I felt when I was a kid listening to that song is definitely not what I feel now when I listen to that song. And it's probably not going to be what I feel when I listen to that song when I'm 75, right? Like,
Right.
it's just a powerful medium. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Are you going to do a little snippet of that song so people know what it is? Or are you going to sing some of it right now?
Oh, no. I should probably snip in some of these songs. I tell you what, here's what we should do.
Wait, I have something to say about what you said.
Say something about feeling, and then let's talk about a couple of songs after that.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. I have thought about this like you have. I think maybe you actually prompted it in me because you've said this before. Movies and books and TV shows, they're great, but you're right. You might watch them one more time or read them one or two more times. But it's not like music where you just like play it over and over again and it puts you in a certain space or mood. And I think part of that is because most books, music, and TV is narrative driven. And so there's a storyline and a plot and there's character development. And once you sort of know how it's going to play out, I think it's served its purpose. Whereas I think music, its purpose is not, obviously there are story songs, that will tell the story, but there's something, I don't know. And I'm not sure what it is. I have my theories. One of my theories is it's about the actual music and not the lyrics, that there's something about notes that when they turn a certain way, they actually make your heart ache or something. That's almost like the vibrations enter your body in a certain way. And you know what I mean? There'll be a song and it'll go to a minor chord, or the lyric will go with the chord that is unresolved and make you think about life, life is unresolved, like I talked about in a podcast a couple years ago about Joni Mitchell's song, The Last Time I Saw Richard.
The last time I saw Richard was Detroit in '68, and he told me all romantics meet the same fate someday. Cynical and drunk and boring someone in some dark cafe.
That ends on this chord that to me is haunting, like boom. It's like, wow, that's like life. It doesn't get resolved. And you have to live with what you've done. And if you're a thinking and feeling person, that chord hits you. Or on another chord or another turn of music. You hear about people crying at operas and they don't even understand what's being said, but they know the story in general. Right. And they're a mess when they come out. Now, I don't understand the opera thing. It's not my thing, but I understand that experience. You could know something about the artist and then hear a song and know that it's coming from their pain, and that moves you because you've had a similar pain. I don't know. I guess you can have that in all medium, but I think you're right. Music has a particular hold on us that bears repeated listens, because it twangs that bit of us, and it's short. It's 4 minutes as opposed to 15 hours of reading.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Like there's a time element involved, and I understand that too. But I also understand that like albums are made to be listened to over and over again, and you can listen to a 70-minute album, 80-minute album,
Right.
and you're talking about a movie could come in at 90 minutes. It's
That's
just
true.
interesting the way that works. Hey, do you want to talk about a couple of songs that are on our minds right now?
Yes, I do, Greg.
Yeah, what song is stirring up for you in the moment, and what's the story that goes along with it?
So Sinead O'Connor died recently,
Yeah.
and I kind of knew about her life, but mostly I knew those first 2 albums of hers, The Lion and the Cobra, and I Do Not Want What I Haven't Got. But there was an EP, an extended play that came out, I don't know, 1997 maybe, called Gospel Oak. And there are like 6 songs on there, and I love that little CD. And one of the songs on there, I'm not sure why it spoke to me. I think it came up for me again with that idea of like my doubts about God and my doubts about organized religion, and am I really doing the right thing by discerning a call to ordained ministry and becoming a priest and going to seminary, that whole business.
Mm-hmm.
And this song, this particular kind of verse in it, really, I just remember playing this song over and over and loving it. So the song is called Petit Poulet.
To sang, say okay, maintenant, baby. To sang, say okay, the life you left behind won't find you. The love you kept inside will come.
A little bit is in French. Petit poulet, I've got to screw up the French, but petit poulet, tu sais okay, maintenant bébé, tu sais okay. Little chicken, everything is all right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, baby, everything is all right.
Mm.
So there's a verse where she says, there isn't any answer to the question.
Answer to the question. You only learn to live with it. There isn't any answer in religion. Don't believe one who says there is, but the voice.
There isn't any answer in religion. Don't believe one who says there is. But the voices are heard of all who cry. I am around you as love in the night, kissing your plight, baby child, kissing your plight, kissing your plight. I am the sun up in the sky. I am the moon also at night. I am the ground under your foot. I am holding you, petit poulet. To me, that speaks so much more about the presence of something divine, caring about us, regarding us, and loving us than some of those, well, not to keep harping on poor Amy Grant, but some of those songs don't speak to me. And I know that Sinead O'Connor went through some hell. Back then, when I loved this song, I didn't know as much as I do now that I've been reading about her since she died. But the fact that she could maintain that belief in something divine, despite all that religion had directly and indirectly done to her, organized religion, is a bit of a miracle. And so to me, her faith is hard-earned, has integrity, and is authentic. And hearing those songs and hearing her say those things, it's like she needed to sing those things for herself. And yet by doing that, it became a little more universal for any of us who felt like, what is this religion thing anyway? And how is there really a God? And so that particular song really spoke to me and actually paradoxically helped me with my faith. I think that's what some of the best songs do. They'll point very directly to why you shouldn't believe and then sort of assure you, and yet there is something there worth giving yourself to. So that's my pick. I mean, I don't know what more to say. I don't need to go into her life, but it was pretty tragic, and she had her own struggles and wasn't always kind of pleasant to hear or kind of witness some of her behavior from some of her own kind of mental illness struggles and PTSD from child abuse and such. But her voice and her words are beautiful.
Yeah. It's so funny because when you were saying Petit Poulet, like I made it to intermediate level French in college, which was what I needed to make it to in order to graduate. I cannot speak a lick of French. I can kind of read French. That's what an intermediate level gets you, I think. So I immediately recognized what you were saying as Little Chicken, which has kind of a funny image to it, right? Like you put those two words together and you're like, oh, what a little funny kind of quirky image. And yet it's a gospel image, right? Like a mother hen. Yeah. It's like this idea of like protection and security and coverage of these giant wings sort of taking you under, it's what a beautiful image. I love it. And don't take yourself too seriously because you're just a little chicken being protected by this hen of a god. Yeah, I think that's amazing.
Exactly. Yeah. So God bless Sinead. What about you?
A song that's been drifting through my head lately, and I always feel like a walking cliche every time I do this because I feel like I'm always going back to Tom Petty or Bob Dylan or, one of these guys like all the time. And of course, Bruce Springsteen like comes up all the time when we talk about this. But I was saying before, like I wake up with these songs in my head. And one of the songs that's sort of been running through my brain for a while, for like a month or so, is Devils and Dust.
I got my finger on the trigger, but I don't know who to trust. I look into your eyes, there's just devils and dust. We're a long, long way from home, Bob. Home's a long, long way from us. But you feel a dirty wind.
Which is I don't know that it's a particular. I mean, it's not. I would never describe it as like a religious song. It almost sounds like a Western every time he sings it. It's like something about I got my finger on the trigger, but I don't know who to trust. It's like this. It feels like, I don't know, like a Clint Eastwood movie or something. But it's the chorus. It's the chorus where he where he says, "I got God on my side, and
I'm just trying to survive. What if what you do to survive kills the things you love? Fear's a powerful thing. It'll turn your heart black and you can trust. It'll take your God-filled soul, fill it with devils and dust. I dream
Fear's a powerful thing. It turns your heart black. You can trust. It'll take your God-filled soul and fill it with devils and dust.
Mm.
I mean, dude, like, are you kidding me? Like, yes, absolutely. What this makes me think of is when I was I try not to talk about my Camino experience too often on the podcast, because I'll just do it forever if I just keep going down that road. But I remember having this conscious thought at one point on the journey where I realized that so much of my life in ministry at my parish was about work that did not matter. It was about stuff that did not matter at all. Stuff that was just so small, like, replacing swings on the playground, or having to stop doing one program with the children and start another program that I didn't want to do, but the education committee wanted to do it, or something, just something dumb. I just remember being on the trail and walking on the trail where you just have hours and hours to just be and experience what you're walking through. But so often your mind just goes into itself and it just starts thinking about home, and it starts thinking about all kinds of things. And one of those things that I was thinking about a lot on the trail was vocation, and what it is that I'm called to, and how my ministry life had gotten so off balance that I was just so far on the work side that I had lost all sense of the vocation side. Like, I was so focused on, getting more kids into the program, getting new swings for the playground, getting, updated carpet for the youth room, like all of that stuff, that I had totally lost track of what does any of this have to do with connecting these young people to the life-giving story of Jesus. Like, I had lost all of that. And so the Camino for me was really a balancing out. It was about balancing out the vocation of my job with the work of my job, and reminding myself that new swings, it's not always about new swings. It's about welcoming people into a new life with Jesus. It's like, it sounds so dumb to say it out loud, but it really does matter to like hold these two things in both of your hands, right? This higher calling and this sort of work that we're given.
Every woman and every man, take a righteous stand, find the love that God gives, and the faith that He commands. I got my finger on the trigger. Tonight faith just ain't enough. I look inside my heart, there's just devils and dust. Got God on my side, I'm just trying to survive. But if what you do to survive kills the things you love, fear's a powerful thing. Turn your heart black, you can trust. Take your God-filled soul, fill it with devils and dust.
And Devils and Dust is the song that pulls me back to it, because the work stuff is always fear-based, right? It's always about like, I'm not good enough, I'm not doing enough, I need to do more, I need to get more, I need, and need, like this idea of like desire, you're never going to be fulfilled, right? You're never going to hit the moment where you sit back and you look at your congregation, you're like, oh man, we did it. We nailed it. We've got the perfect number of people coming here. We've got the perfect number of pledges. Like this is absolutely everything that I hoped it would be. You always it's just the church. You always want more. You want all of like you want to do more, you want to be more, you want to reach out to more people. Like it's just how parishes work, I think. Yeah, I just think about this idea of that's fear. That's fear that's telling you that you're not enough. And it'll take everything that you love and it'll strip it all away and it'll fill it with nothing. It'll fill it with devils and dust, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been sort of transitioning vocations at work and stuff like that. I've just found that this song has just been coming up for me. And every time I think about it, I think about that Camino experience. And I think about that walking that balance of like, I'm going to do the work that I've been given to do, but it's all in service of this calling that I claimed years ago. That's never changing. And so, yeah, so that's where I am right now with Bruce.
Wow.
That song. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. That's real, man. I think if I may comment, I know that song just a little bit, but that phrase that what if what you do to survive kills the things you love?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's true for anyone, really, right? I mean, for an artist, for someone who would rather be, I don't know, loves this other thing. But I hear you on the ministry situation and how so much of what you do, and I don't want to like impose my clergy life on it, but I can relate, you know, in my own way to that that idea that what you love and what you're best at, maybe even the things that you have to do to survive kind of don't necessarily match up with that.
Yeah.
Your story about just the disappointment of, you know, you get lost in the details and the fear.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. We're never going to be satisfied.
Right. Yeah.
There's never going to be a day when we look around and like, this is it. We
did it.
Now.
Yeah. That's never going to happen in anybody's context. Yeah.
And yet, I mean, I think that you're bringing it to the Camino experience. I mean, what I heard in that is you remembered that there's sort of a, I don't know, the word that keeps coming up in my head is there's a purity to, there's a pureness to what you really, you know, what the deepest thing of your ministry is. And the purity has been kind of mucked over with devils and dust, but gosh, it's still there. And I don't know if that Camino helped you get in touch with it again or what it's going to mean for your future. But, you know, that is what's important.
Yeah. Well, it's about pulling that stuff into your conscious mind, right? I think unconsciously or subconsciously, we're kind of aware of this idea. I mean, certainly fear is about being afraid of losing stuff, right? Like, I mean, ultimately that's what we're talking about. You're afraid of loss, whether that's possessions or people or life or love or things or whatever. That's what fear preys on, is the loss of all of those things. And that's not gospel, right? The gospel is never about focus on the things that are dwindling. Like the gospel is never about focus on scarcity, the scarcity of life and how you better get yours before somebody gets theirs. Like that's not what it's about. The gospel is always about abundance. It's always about 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. Like it's always about that. And yeah, I mean, the Camino experience was about taking that thought and always making it front of mind, like always pulling it into the consciousness, because so frequently, like when you're looking at the world, like your fear makes you see it one way. And the fear isn't the truth. The truth is actually the abundance part, but it can be hard to see sometimes. So,
yeah. God, thanks. That's good, and it's also depressing somehow. Oh, I know, it's depressing. When you're saying, you know, you focus on scarcity. It's like, you know, the church. I wouldn't even say the church focuses on scarcity. I would say we fixate on scarcity.
We do fixate on scarcity, yeah.
And it's it's easy to say stop doing that, but I get why we do it.
Yeah.
It's because we're dying. I don't know.
Because we have buildings that are falling apart that need to be paid for, and it's that loss piece, and we have congregations that used to be full and now aren't nearly as full as they were. It's just all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But you know what? When you do have that balance, you recognize all the gifts that you do have,
right,
which are abundant. I know that I have tremendous gifts in my life. One of them is this pod and being able to check in with you guys and all of that stuff. And it really does recharge my batteries, and I love it. And I always comfort myself by going down into the library of the church and looking at all the different things that people were doing at Bethesda by the Sea back in 1950 or 1940 or 1930, and thinking to myself, somebody 60 years from now is going to be looking at all the stuff that I did, and they're going to be like, oh, wow, I can't believe that guy did a movie class. What a weird thing to do at a church. But it is what it is. You're part of this larger story that's going to keep going. And there's comfort in that, I think,
Yeah. Do we want to do another song?
I don't know. I'm all good, I think, on songs. Do you have another one?
Well, I have many, but I
tell you what, why don't we save them for later episodes of the pod? Because I really like this new and improved music diary where we get to talk to each other about stuff rather than talking to ourselves.
I like it too.
So we'll see you, and I don't know whenever the next pod comes out, and we'll be talking about new music that's on our minds. How does that sound, Ricardo?
Wait, is this the end of the episode now?
I think we can wrap it up. Do you have something that's on your mind that you want to
I don't know. Wait, well, you had that outline. You had all these interesting things, but I think we answered some of them. Like, what's the difference between songs that are authentic feeling and shallow religious-y or whatever? I think I brought up the whole caveat about Amy Grant, but I think it's okay to distinguish at least what moves me,
absolutely.
You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but
I think Amy Grant's going to be okay if she's listening to the pod. Amy, I'm so sorry. All the stuff we said today. Baby Baby is one of my favorite songs. I remember walking past my cousin's house one summer, and she was outside washing her car or something, and she had a boombox in the driveway, and Baby Baby was playing, and I was like, you know what, Amy Grant, you did it. This is the summer event of the summer song. It is great. Good job, Amy Grant.
Nice. Well, I think that is a fitting end to this episode. Oh man, there are so many songs.
Stevie
many. Wonder, oh my God, Nick Cave.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. Well, may this podcast, may this satellite pod prove endearing to those who download, and let us know, and so we can do more of them.
And make your own playlist and send us songs that are meaningful to you with a story. Email them to us at poppingcollarspodcast@gmail.com, and maybe we'll read them out and say, hey, Joe in San Jose says that he likes this song for this reason. We'd love that stuff. Share your own musical diaries with us. We can never get enough music, and we can never get enough stories. So
exactly.
So we will see you next time on the next PC Music Diary with a couple of new songs. In the meantime, Ricardo, thank you for joining me for this new and improved pod.
So glad. Thank you.
We'll see you next time, and keep those college pops.
Pop, 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 pop,
pop, pop, pop, pop, pop.